Hey everybody, welcome back. Hopefully by now you've designed all of your train parts and now you're ready to assemble it. So in this video we're going to learn how to assemble our toy train. Let's go ahead and get started. Come on up to File and let's start a new design. Alright, so the first thing we want to do whenever starting an assembly is to save it first. So we're going to go ahead and save it as train assembly. Okay, go ahead and select save. Let's go ahead and open up our data panel now. Okay, and notice there's nothing in here. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead now and right click on my Train 2.0 file here, and I'm going to select Insert into Current Design. Okay, and I'm just going to select OK. Now I'm going to go ahead and right click on my train part here, and I'm going to ground it, which means it will not move. And I'm going to sort of build the train assembly around our train body here. Okay. All right, so the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to bring it one part at a time. And I want to find my axle peg here, or my 1/4-20 hex bolt, same thing here. And I'm going to go ahead and right click, once again, insert into current design. And when you bring them in, I like to sort of orientate them so that they look like they're about ready to go in. And so I'm going to pull it down, I'm going to pull it out. Let me actually move it up a little bit, and just something like that. Okay, I'm going to hit OK. And now I'm going to come on up to assemble. I'm going to select joint, and make sure your rigid joint here is selected, and then I'm going to select, okay, click on your select button, and I'm going to go ahead now and select, hold down shift in your mouse wheel and use your mouse wheel to zoom in. I'm going to select that outer edge right there and to that right there. Okay, but I don't want it all the way in. I want it offset a distance of minus 0.25. Not this direction. Let's go, my bad. Let's grab this guy out, and now let's change that to 0.25. Okay, and hit OK. And we want to go ahead now and do that for every hitch peg. Let's go ahead now and insert all 4 of them. Okay, feel free to pause this and do this on your own, or you can watch me as I insert the other 3. All right, so I'm going to go ahead axle peg, excuse me, and go ahead and insert it into the current design. And I'm only going to do one at a time. Okay, so I'm going to kind of 90. And get it as close as I can to the other hole, sort of. It just, like I said, I like to bring them in and sort of put them in place like they're ready to be assembled. Okay, so I'm going to hit OK. And once again, let's go to Assemble, Joint. Okay, and rigid is selected, so I'm going to hold down Shift in my mouse wheel, and I'm going to select the same edge I did last time to that edge. Okay, and I'm going to pull it out a distance of 0.25. Okay. All right, so 2 down, 2 more to go. I'm going to rotate my train around here once again by holding down Shift in the mouse wheel, a great shortcut, saves a lot of time. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and bring in our 3rd axle peg, insert into current design. I'm going to move it out, rotate it here 90 degrees. All right, hit OK. And let's go ahead and repeat that process. Okay, joint, and it should already be in a rigid joint by default, and you can see it right here, okay, in case you're wondering. So it's asking you to select the component you want to assemble. Okay, and right there. Okay, and once again, let's pull it out a distance of 0.25 inches. All right, last one. our last axle peg. Let's go ahead and insert it into current design. Hit OK. And select assemble, joint. Grab that arrow and pull it out a distance of minus 0.25 inches and hit enter. All right, so all of our axle pegs are assembled, or in reality, they would have been screwed in, right? Because we put threads in there. All right, so now let's go ahead and start bringing in our wheels. And like I said, it's good to do it one at a time. Because if you bring in too many, it just gets pretty hectic pretty quickly. So I'm gonna flip this guy around the other way, like that. Maybe move it out just a little bit so I have a little more room to work with, and hit OK. And once again, we're going to come on up to assemble. We're going to do a joint, but this time we are going to select a revolute joint. Okay, and that will constrain the wheel here in 2 dimensions while still allowing it to rotate. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead now and just sort of think about, what needs to be matched up with what. So I'm going to select that circle, and I know that I want it right there. Okay, and if we did it right, if we hit OK, we should be able to turn it. Okay, which is exactly what we got. All right. All right, now let's go do the other 3 wheels. Once again, let's come on up to assemble and joint, and by default, it should hopefully have our revolute still there. Yep. And so we're going to just go ahead now and select that circle, and we know it corresponds to this circle right here. And we're going to hit OK. Okay. All right, let's go ahead and do the other 2. Hold down Shift in your mouse wheel to rotate it around. And let's go ahead and insert the train wheel again. And that looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and hit OK. Assemble, joint. Go ahead and select continue. And we want that one with that one. Okay. And there we go. Go ahead and hit OK. And now let's go ahead and bring in our last wheel. Hit OK. Come on up to assemble again and joint. And we know that circle corresponds, we want it to match up and be in contact with that circle. And looks good. Let's hit OK. Okay, we got all 4 wheels on, looking good. Let's go ahead and save it before you don't get too far and something happens, your computer crashes or whatever. So let's go ahead and hit save. Okay. Now let's go ahead and bring in our cow catcher. Right click, insert into current design. And once again, I'm going to sort of put it in place. Nope, that's it. There we go. Just like that. Okay, I'm gonna hit OK. And let's go ahead now and assemble this guy. So I'm gonna do this guy and this guy, and I think that should be enough. Let's go ahead and try it out. So let's go to assemble, joint. This time we want a rigid again. So let's go ahead and select on our component. And I know I want this circle right here to correspond with that circle right there. Hit OK. And let's see if that moves around. No, we're good. So that did it with just one rigid constraint. Nice. All right, so now let's go ahead and bring in our stack. So let's go right click, insert into current design, and then move it up and over just a little bit. Hit OK. All right, let's go to assemble, joint, and make sure our rigid joint is selected. I'm going to select on this line right here, and I want it to go to that line. All right, perfect. Hit OK, and we're looking pretty good. Now let's go ahead and bring in our linkage arm to connect to our two wheels. So insert into current design. And I'm just going to kind of move it out. Let's see here, something like that. And that's probably pretty good. Let's hit OK. All right, and just like our wheels, we're going to want to change the joint now to a revolute. So let's go to assemble joint and change it to a revolute here. Back to position. Okay, now I want this outer part. It corresponds to this outer part. Okay, nice. That looks pretty good. Let's go ahead and hit OK. And yep, it's not on there. I was like, did I just do it twice? All right, let's do the same thing we just did. Assemble joint and hit continue. Hit there. And that wasn't supposed to happen. Okay. Let's try that again. All right, let's see if it works here. If you did everything right, you should be able to sort of do that with your wheels and your linkage arm, so they rotate in conjunction here. Okay, looks pretty good. Let's bring in our other linkage arm on the other side. Okay. Okay, that's probably pretty good. I'm gonna hit OK. Okay, I'm gonna do the same thing I did on the other side here. Let's come on up to assemble, joint. Okay, and I know that this circle right here corresponds or matches up with this circle right here. And I'm gonna hit OK. Okay. And I don't know why, but it keeps wanting to go to that point right there. But let's go ahead and do it again. Assemble, joint. Yeah, see it kind of bounces back on there automatically, like it knows where it's going. Okay. And should work. Let's go see now We're looking good. All right. And if you're trying to spin it and everything's moving around, that means you did not ground the main body here. And to ground it, click over here and go to ground. Okay. All right, now we want to go ahead and insert our linkage pegs. Come over, rotate it down. Hit OK. I'm going to zoom in here. And let's go to assemble and joint. And I believe a rigid joint will do the trick this time. So I'm going to go back to rigid. I don't think it needs to spin, but so I'm going to select that circle right there. And put it right there. Hit OK. And let's double check to make sure our wheels are still spinning here. Yep, we're looking good. Okay, now let's go ahead and bring in the other linkage peg. Okay, and rotate it around. Hit OK. I'm going to rotate it and we're going to assemble joint, continue. That circle we know should go right on that circle. Okay, hit OK. All right, 2 down, 2 more to go on the other side. All right, come to assemble joint. Repeat the same process we did. And let's go ahead now and enter the last one. Okay, and let's add our joint. Okay. All right, it's coming together pretty nicely here. Let's go ahead and save it. All right, and the last thing we want to do is to add our hitch peg and hitch magnet. So I'm going to come on up. Let's go ahead and insert into design. And we want it pretty far back here. Hit OK. And I know that, zoom in here, let's assemble again, joint, we want a rigid joint, and I would know that this circle here should match up and correspond to this circle here. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and hit OK. And I want to bring in my last part, my hitch peg. I'm going to move it over here. And rotate it 90 degrees, maybe a little more out, hit OK. All right, and finally, I know that, well, let's add our joint first, our rigid joint, and I know that this circle right here will correspond to our magnet location of right here. Okay, I'm gonna hit OK. And that is our train completely assembled. All right, and when you're done, you're probably like going, hey, what's up with all these joints right here? You know, they kind of make it look a little ugly. So click on the joints folder here. And you can just expand them all, which I didn't mean to do. Okay, just click on that eyeball and they all go away. Okay, don't forget to save it. Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something and we'll see you next time.